Hey, did you know Magikarp is one of the Pokémon with the biggest potential in all of the 7 regions? No joke. When evolving, its stats change so dramatically, it has the highest jump between 2 evolutions in all of Pokémon, only tied with Feebas. It's Daniel here, and if you're wondering how the stats of a Pokémon work, you've made it to the right place. Welcome to Pokémon Explained. The topic for this episode is BST. All Pokémon have something called base stats. BST is an abbreviation for the 3 words base, stat, and total. These are specific amounts that are shared by a species of Pokémon. Stats in general may be different between 2 Pokémon based on 4 factors: BST, level, EVs, and IVs. I've done individual videos on each of these topics to help you understand it all a bit easier. It may seem like a lot at first, but I promise you, whenever you get a hold of it all, your enjoyment of Pokémon will be increased to a whole new level. And that's why I decided to make all the videos. There is a playlist with all Pokémon Explained episodes, which you can have a look at after this video. But for now, let's get started on BST. Some Pokémon have a high amount of base stats, and some not so high. The different stats a Pokémon can have are HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. These can all range from 1 to 255, and typically, a Pokémon's base stats are what determines a Pokémon's potential when used in battle. If you haven't heard of BST before, or base stats, you might have thought that the numbers displayed on your Pokémon was random. I guess it's pretty natural to think when you haven't really heard anything else. Let's have a look at a quick example to start somewhere. We have 2 Pokémon, Pikachu and Togetic, which are both at level 50. All Pikachus have these exact numbers as their base stats. You see, base stats doesn't really translate directly into the stats you see in a Pokémon summary, but they are the starting point of a Pokémon stats. These are the numbers that are the actual stats for the Pikachus at level 50. Please note that these numbers are without considering other factors that change a Pokémon's stats, but we'll get back to that later. You can also see that all Togetics have these numbers as their base stats, but that these are their actual stats at level 50. I think this is the most confusing part, that base stats doesn't really directly translate to the stats shown in a Pokémon summary. Base stats are the starting point, and then you have level, which is another big one. At last you have EVs and IVs, which are minor changes in comparison. It all really breaks down to wanting a Pokémon to have the biggest numbers, explained roughly. To add some more numbers to this example, let's have a look at how their actual stats look like at level 5 and at level 100. This may seem overwhelming at first, but try to think real easy about it. A Pokémon have 6 different stats, and they all have to start somewhere, and based on a Pokémon's level, you will see these come into effect. You typically want to get a Pokémon with high base stats, which we will come to in a moment here, but it's not only stats that make a Pokémon competitively viable, something which you will come to learn by watching Pokémon Explained. Every single species have their own sets of base stats, and if you want to learn more about how a specific Pokémon's base stats are, you can go to bulbapedia.bulbagarden.net and search up the Pokémon you're looking for. You then want to scroll down to the section called Base Stats and have a look. A thing to note here is that some Pokémon might have gotten a slight modification in its base stats between 2 generations of Pokémon, such as Pidgeot, which got a slight boost in its speed from base 91 to base 101 in generation 6. There are multiple ways of increasing a Pokémon's stats, including EVs, IVs, and nature. You will also have the option to further boost the efficiency of the stats in battle due to items, moves, and abilities. If you're looking to find a competitively viable Pokémon, you will in most cases want to find a Pokémon with at least one stat over 100 base stat points. Cerebi.net is a perfect way to find these Pokémon. You can go to Pokédex and search through the top 300 Pokémon in a specific stat. An important thing to note is that base stats can in no way be changed. They are set and done, and as said quite some times in this video, the starting point. In the Pokémon anime, and in the games of course if you've seen the summary of a Pokémon stats before and after, a Pokémon gets stronger when evolving. Well, why does this happen? A Pokémon gets an increased BST when going from one evolutionary stage to another. Some typical amounts of base stats are First stage evolutions tend to range between 180 and 300 BST, second stage around 300 to 400, and third stage evolutions are likely to be above 400 BST. Some Pokémon trivia to help you get a better understanding of it all can be: mythical legendaries tend to have a base stat distribution which looks like this, hundreds across, which gives 600 BST in total, which is quite a lot. Pseudo-legendaries are a group of Pokémon that aren't really legendaries, but have kind of legendary stats. Pokémon like this can be Garchomp, Goodra, and Salamence. The Pokémon with the highest BST is Arceus, with 720, or the Mega Mewtwo's with 780. When it comes to Mega Evolutions, typically they get an increased BST by 100 points when Mega Evolving. An exception to this can be Alakazam, which only gets an increased BST by 90. Some more BST trivia is that Shedinja is the Pokémon with the lowest base stat point in any stat of all Pokémon, having one base stat point in HP. We also have Blissey with the highest base stat points in any stat of all Pokémon also, which is 255 in HP. Other Pokémon with the highest base stats in a stat of all Pokémon in the games are Mewtwo, Steelix, Shuckle and Aggron, Mewtwo again, Shuckle again, and Deoxys. So now you know a whole lot of numbers, but how do these play out in the game? I showed you some numbers regarding Pikachu's and Togetic stats, but another way you can get a better understanding of it all is simply to do some research on different Pokémon you like over at Cerebi or at Bulbapedia. To summarize, BST stands for Base, Stat, and Total, which are specific amounts that are shared by a species of Pokémon. These are typically what determines a Pokémon's potential in battle, and it's the starting point of how the stats of a Pokémon breaks down. You also have other factors that may alter a Pokémon's stats either positively or negatively, which are EVs, IVs, natures, abilities, items, and moves. It may all seem pretty complicated at first, but once you get a hold of it, it's actually pretty cool. You can have a look at EVs and IVs, which are a bit more advanced, but if you want to continue expanding your Pokémon knowledge, you will find videos on those topics in the Pokémon Explained playlist right now. That was it for this episode. I hope you learned something new and would like to check out the other episodes on screen right now. If you're new to the channel, why not subscribe and join our community? With that said, I'll see you again sometime, and until then, be your very best.